Ozonics Killerwinds Podcast back again.
I'm excited.
I'm not telling you who I am.
Okay.
If you don't know who I am, glad you're here.
Glad you're here, guys.
That made me sound really boisterous. I didn't mean it like that. Braggadocious. I'm Cole Tanner. If you don't know who I am, you probably wouldn't know who I am. So I will introduce myself. Yep. Hello. Okay, so this week we are talking another rut update.
Yep.
We're doing, last time we did the Rut Update podcast the morning of. Now we're doing it in the afternoon of the week that the podcast will be here. We're just cutting it close.
Yeah.
I'm not cutting anything close. I'm golden because I just have to do this part. I just have to yappy.
Yeah.
You are the one that's got a lot to do yet.
Yep.
But it is November 18th.
18th.
Yes, it is the 18th.
Yes.
We are doing a rut update from previous week. Good rut update because we hunted pretty hard on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, we did.
And
No, we didn't.
No, we didn't. We didn't hunt Saturday.
No.
It's all starting to blur together quite a bit. Yeah. We didn't hunt Saturday because why? Because it was really windy. And it was really windy.
Yeah, it was like 40-mile-an-hour winds.
Yep. And I had some other things I needed to get taken care of.
Yep.
Trying to juggle a lot.
Yep. So yeah, we didn't hunt. I spent the day driving all over Iowa, it felt like.
And I spent the day working.
Yeah.
On random stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. But you did do a lot. You covered a lot of ground. And I will say in the driving that I did too, on all the public spots and places where I would normally see trucks, I didn't see trucks. So I think a lot of people kind of had the same idea. In north central Iowa, it was seriously 40-mile-an-hour winds. It was cooking.
Yeah. At one spot, I was taking my bike out and it was blowing right into it. You know how I do it. I kind of get the bike,
turn it around
on the tailgate, and when I was
like
backing
a sail.
up, yeah, it was like I was really struggling to get it out. So it was like really windy, and yeah, like you said, I didn't see a single truck.
Yeah,
all day.
Yeah, I think I only saw two.
Yeah, yep. I did see one guy, but he was pheasant hunting. So
and other buddies that I knew would be out, they didn't go out either.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So just kind of was one of those days.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. But so yeah, we're gonna do a little bit of update from previous week and just again from really hunting pretty hard on Saturday or on Sunday. Again, our disclaimer is we're only hunting in a couple spots. This isn't indicative of what's happening all over the state of Iowa, but I feel like you're hearing a lot of what's going on around a lot of different places too, probably more than I am.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then we're going to talk about what's coming up and kind of where we think we're at in the rut. And there's still a lot of good opportunity left out there.
Yeah.
You know, there's still a lot of meat on the bone,
mm-hmm.
as a guy might say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's jump right into it. Well, you know what? Let's just get to the really other fun, exciting thing. If you're listening, you can't see it, but if you're watching, whammo. We got something new. We actually just put this on the website on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
This is the new Ozonics clamp mount, which is pretty sweet.
Works really good too.
Yeah. We actually have been putting this thing through its paces. We've got some pretty cool video. I actually went out and I filmed Nick. We did a little ground SWAT action.
Yep.
And we were sitting on this knob in one of our private spots. It's just kind of what we call it, the knoll or the knob. And the wind was ripping out of the south, southeast wind.
Yeah.
And we'd had these bucks coming on this camera. So we're like, you know what? Let's just try it. They've been out there a couple of nights in a row, following does out. Let's just see if we can get third time's a charm. Well, it wasn't a charm, but we did see a ton of does come out.
Pile of does.
And we thought, you know what? This is a perfect time to let's put this clamp through its paces. And it worked flawlessly.
Yeah.
I talk about this in the instructional video. Of course, I'm a dork. And the first day I got it, I put my finger in there and then tried to squeeze it down. You can break your finger if you really want to.
It really clamps.
It will clamp. You can clamp on a tree about the size of your finger because we did that.
That's what we did.
I actually couldn't even, the tree was so small when I tried to go through the center of the clamp, it was too small for that.
Yeah.
I actually just clamped it, literally, I just wedged it right in the teeth and it stuck. Yeah. We had 18 total-mile winds. You could see on the video, the HR 600's kind of swaying back and forth and that clamp didn't move.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's pretty awesome because it's got a knob that controls the clamp and it also has a knob that controls the arm portion, so you can adjust the easy mount stud on the one end, and then you can maneuver it on the other end that's connected to the clamp.
Yep.
It's pretty sweet. Actually, really, really excited about it. And we did a video about how I think inherently this really fills a gap for us on guys that were asking for some sort of mount that would work in a round tubing or square tubing framework of a pop-up blind
Yeah.
or a soft-sided blind, we really couldn't help you with that. It was always really tough.
Yeah.
If you're using a 360 blind, you're using a redneck blind,
Yeah.
has some sort of shelf or windows or something where it's got a ledge, this will fit on that perfectly.
Yep.
We do have a hard side blind mount that works out great too. What we heard from people is some guys don't want to put holes through their blinds, which I totally understand.
Yeah.
You know, and you're putting that hard side blind mount, it's probably going to be in one spot. Where this, you can really maneuver it wherever you'd like.
Yeah.
So for a blind, it's awesome. Again, if you're using a Helpstar Gone blind, you can't see this if you're listening, but we've got these little C-rings. They come there's 4 of them that come with the smart clamp. You can also buy these separately. We sell like 4-packs accessories. This just fits right in the middle of the clamp. You want to make sure that the opening of the C faces into the clamp, and then you just want to turn the little rubber pads outwards, which is going to help this tighten down even better.
Mm-hmm.
And then literally you just tighten it right up, and it's going to tighten right down like a carbon pole in a pop-up blind.
Yep.
So that works out really great too. But the thing, like we were saying earlier, if you're using it on the ground, if you're hunting on the ground, this is great for that. Hunting against a fence line, got a fence post behind you. You got just small little trees around you.
Public land.
If you're the type of person, you're like, listen, I don't want to bring a ratchet strap. I don't like how much noise they make. This thing is pretty dead quiet.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say is when I saw this and really got to start using it, the first thing that came to mind for me was platform of my tree stand.
Yeah.
I talk a lot about that. I don't know what it is. My feet just smell or what it is. But I feel like I always am struggling with the deer smelling where I walk in.
Yeah.
I'll walk in very deliberately to try to put my scent on the ground where I want it to be, where maybe it's more advantageous for me.
Yeah.
Or if they try to walk across that, they may stop and give me a shot or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things is when I'm sitting in a tree stand and I'm standing and I've got that ozonics above my head, that ozonics is probably 6 to 7 feet away from my feet.
Yeah, exactly.
So to be able to put this clamp on the front of my platform, I just literally just screwed it right in when we went up there, tightened it down, and then snapped an HR 600 on that, put that on hyper boost mode, and just got it in the downwind direction. So I had a 600 above my head, and I had a 600 right on the platform.
Yeah.
Worked out really good. We actually hunted with that too.
Yeah.
Got some awesome video. And that kind of segues into a little bit of update on what's been going on.
Well, really, this whole thing kind of segues into it because I feel like that first ground sit we made was probably I would say the first hunt of this update.
Yes, absolutely.
Because
I think the theme of this update, from my perspective, is it's on.
Yeah.
It is on like Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
It is going. We are the bell curve. We are at the peak.
Yeah.
It is going.
Yeah.
If it's the roller coaster analogy, we are riding the roller coaster, putting our hands up.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it is on like Donkey Kong right now. We are at the peak.
Yeah.
We could see that on the cameras. All of a sudden now, just even last week, it was like, whoa, look. Just all of a sudden turned on.
Well, that's exactly why we decided to go and sit on the ground that day, because right at that spot, it's kind of a spot it's kind of hard. It's pretty hard to hunt, honestly.
Yeah, like to put the little detail into that, we've got this knoll. That's just this big little high spot.
Yeah.
There's a big thicket to the west. There's no way to really hunt you can hunt on the north side of that, but they don't really come out there. They come out on the southeast corner of that.
Yeah.
And so if you have a north wind, you're blowing it right down the thicket. You have an east wind, you're blowing it into the thicket.
Yeah.
You have a west wind, you can get away with it, but they're still going to come out, and then you're really putting yourself in a compromising position. We lean on the 600s and the ozonics for that.
Yeah.
So you kind of hope for a northwest or west wind, but if you get a south-southeast, it's just off limits.
Yeah.
So we thought, you know what? These deer are coming out here. Let's try it.
Yeah.
So we ground swatted them.
Yeah,
we got in there like ninjas.
Yeah, and it, like you said too, it was super windy, so that kind of helped.
Yep.
And another thing too is we did go in there and hunt it on a south wind, but it was off the knoll. There's no tree to hang in.
Yes.
Where you can be safe with the southeast wind, and so that's why we decided to sit on the ground.
Yeah, we basically went east of where they come out as far as we could, probably about 60 yards.
Yep.
Hoping that a south wind would just kind of blow over the back of the hill.
Yeah.
And if they were coming out straight to the west of us and wanting to walk southeast, we kind of put ourselves just right on the edge where they come out. It's a broadside shot. You're really banking on seeing them early. Mm-hmm. I have this ghillie netting that I really like to use.
Yeah.
I don't even know who it's made by, but man, I really like it. It's actually a ghillie suit that's got a little hood.
Yeah.
But you can just lay it flat like a rectangle.
Yep.
And it's got little ties on it. And I tie that off. Lots of situations.
Yeah.
Put that right behind us, got you rested up against a tree. put the 600s above our head on the clamp mounts.
Yep.
It worked out great.
Yeah, it worked really good. Yeah.
Worked out great.
Yeah, and
Deer didn't cooperate.
no, which was that kind of sucked. Just because 2 nights before there was new bucks that were showing up.
Well, the night before there was a good buck that walked out completely during daylight. Bingo. The day before that, a buck walked out during daylight, following a doe. Bingo.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Let's try it one more time. Let's go in there for the first time. Let's just see. That's a spot just like, it's funny, that spot's so just like turkey hunting.
Yeah.
Try not to hunt that spot until they show up on camera, and they showed up. It's kind of like, when you know, and you knew.
Yeah, it really felt like a good day to be in there.
Yeah.
And like we said earlier, the bucks didn't cooperate, but like a group of like 9 does came out.
Yeah, just a whole pile.
Yeah.
It's like, you're kind of sitting there, and me, I'm like, come on, dear, let's go. One time, like, come on. And you feel like you're just staring holes through like different parts of where you're like hoping they're going to come out. You're looking, and then finally it's like, oh, there's one.
Yeah.
That wasn't, but no, one thing I will say about Nick, maybe I said this on the previous podcast. I don't think I have. Little detail that I've learned about Nick. Nick has a superpower, and his superpower is absolute eagle eyesight. I'm talking specifically to brown of a deer. I don't know how he does it, to the point where I go through these ebbs and flows of joy and frustration and like try hard and then not try at all, because very rarely do I see a deer before Nick. And I was bound and determined that day, because did I see that deer first? No, I'm pretty sure you did. And it was in the spot that I should have been able to see first, because I was sitting in such a way that I could look down the fence line of the thicket perfectly over my left shoulder and see it first. You had to crank your head like all the way around to see. And I thought, okay, this is the day. That's where they're going to come out. I'm going to see them first. And then the hazing will commence.
Yeah.
And it didn't work at all. You saw him first again.
Yeah.
Golly. But I did have payback.
Yeah, you did. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
But you know what? I just thought about when you were talking about that. We didn't talk about that one hunt we had in the timber the other day.
Oh, yeah.
When that buck came cruising by.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so we've got this spot, and there's no rhyme or reason for the name. We call it the co-op. We've actually got the old co-op and the new co-op, and we nicknamed the ridge behind that was on old co-op, Co-op Ridge.
Yeah.
Got a lot going on.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of names.
I know. It's good, though. It makes it easier. It's way better than me. Like, that one ridge over there?
Well, even that, like, we've got the new co-op, and you got old co-op, and you got Co-op Ridge, and then you got the Dike Road.
Yeah.
And then you got the Dike Ravine between Old Co-op and Dike Road.
And you got the thermal hub.
And then you got thermal hub right there. And you got Turkey Ridge. And you got the middle stand. And you got Stand in the Woods. And you got the corner. And then you got Mint. And then you got Riv. And then you got Ski Hill.
Tongue.
The Tongue, Combine Road. Tongue Road. We got a lot going on out there. It's just ridiculous.
And it's funny, too, when we're talking about this.
You called me the other day and you started laughing when you were like, where was that deer? Oh, hey, I just watched a deer walk in. East of Tongue, east of the Combine, or east of the Ski Hill, just by the Combine Road. I'm like, okay, I know exactly where that's at. Like, Jet was with us, and he goes, it's where? He didn't know what we were talking about.
Yeah, dude. The more we're talking, the more I'm realizing we haven't talked about a couple of hunts here.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna just jump all over the map, because I'm having a hard time blurring where this is all happening. Yeah. But it's all happened within between this and the last
since our last route update.
Yeah. So I had a really good feeling about that ground, about that ground swat. I thought that was going to come together.
Yeah.
It felt really good. We were gillied in good. I had to kind of stomp down some grass. It was windy, so we got in there quiet. We had actually had bucks on that northeast camera as well, trotting by twice during the same day, like 1:30 and 3:30 the day before. It's like, oh my gosh. Found some good sign in there. We're like, okay, it just didn't work out.
Yeah.
Which is fine. So then the weekend before that, that would have been either Saturday or Sunday. I don't remember what day. Oh, it was Sunday. Because on Sunday, the weekend before, we had a really big wind switch here.
Yeah.
We had what was starting as a southeast wind switch south, southwest, west, northwest.
Yeah.
And it was going to do a big switch about 9 o'clock. Mm-hmm. So we were kind of going around and around. It's like, golly, we'd love to get in there. And it was rainy.
Yeah.
It was raining. And man, those weather reports can be so hard because when you see like 45% chance rain, you gotta remember that's 100% chance rain over 45 to 50% of the viewing area.
Yeah.
So you're like, well, golly, we're gonna get out there. One, we're gonna sit in the rain, and that's not conducive. And then the wind is going to be completely switching, which is hard in general, hard on the ozonics when the wind is really switchy because you're trying to adjust your ozonics all the time. So it's like, let's just wait. So we stayed out of there. We were waiting in the truck for the wind to switch. You could feel it get real calm. We're like, okay, let's go. So we got in about 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
I walked into the co-op. You walked into the river.
Yeah.
Or you rode into the river. I walked into the co-op. Got up in there. Felt really good. Had a good steady kind of west wind.
Yeah.
And about 2 o'clock, just like you hope on those long sits or an all-day sit, I looked up and there was a small buck that walked right, just read the script.
Yep.
Walked right down, crossed in the perfect spot. Shoot me, shoot me, shoot me. No, sorry, you get a pass. Yeah. And I'm watching him, and it's kind of interesting how I spend so much time trying to look around and you're trying not to get caught, but then sometimes when you see deer, you have to be cognizant not to get caught in that situation.
Yeah.
Because you get so concentrating on looking at that one, you lose sight of everything else and you kind of don't look up.
Yeah.
And you don't go, maybe I should look over my left shoulder quick. You try not to move, and it's always a game, but so he's kind of coming down to my right, kind of doing his thing, and I'm kind of concentrating on him. I look up, and that just at the right time, and that other buck walked out. And it's not a buck that we have any real history with. That this permission spot is on a river, and it kind of feels like the river is like an interstate.
Yeah.
That's what you really hope for in the rut, especially on river bottom, is that I always think of the rivers as an interstate.
Yeah.
And the pieces of ground are like the off ramps. You hope that as the season goes on, when these bucks just start cruising and just start moving around, that you're in one of those off ramps when he just gets off for a day or two and he kind of cruises through and checks everything and then gets back on the interstate and moves on.
Yeah.
Kind of felt like that's what that buck did, because now he's long gone.
Yeah.
He's gone.
Yeah.
But sure enough, he was a nice kind of high, tight, like 8-pointer.
Narrow 8, yeah.
Yeah. And it's like one of those deer you're like, golly, but he just wasn't big enough.
Yeah.
For me, I guess. I was like, no, he came right in, was on the upwind side the whole time, and kind of came right in front of me perfectly, like in my good shooting lane, just kind of out in front to the left. He actually saw that other buck and did not like it.
Yeah.
And he turned and was gondy.
Yeah.
He just like galloped away. He's like, nope, I'm not having it. Well, you were down at the river and we thought, you know what? Let's try it. Let's put a decoy out.
Yeah.
Let's just see if this works. Well, sure enough, towards dark, same buck walks out
like 300 yards away,
rattle
at him, and he was just on a string.
Like, here I come.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to be here, but guess what? I'm here, and I'm about ready to beat somebody up and take whatever you got.
Yeah. And I'm like, all right, here we go, baby. This is game over. I wasn't really thinking that, but I was getting really fired up because he did turn on a dime and like start galloping towards me. And I'm like, okay, yeah, here we go. He could come right in. Well, where that stand is, it's kind of in the corner of this field, and there's a little hump in the field where when he was coming, he couldn't see the decoy, but he kind of got up just enough to where he could see the decoy. And as soon as he saw that decoy, he just stopped. His demeanor totally changed, and he just turned and ran the other way. And it's funny, too, to hear that you kind of had him do the same thing, but with a live deer, you know?
Yeah, he did. When he saw that other buck, and it's weird because you would have thought that they would have been kind of cruising together. There was enough of a separation.
Yeah.
But yeah, that other buck was down the ridge I was on, through the ravine, up on Co-op Ridge, and then he came off Turkey Ridge on the flat and walked in there.
Yeah.
And got to the co-op and looked over and was like, nope, and was gondy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, he did. They didn't like the deek.
Yeah.
That did not work.
Yeah. And
which again, deeks can be so feast or famine.
Yeah,
you hear some people, and again, I've had great luck with decoys too, but sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes you just get the deer that just doesn't like it, and he did not like it.
Yeah.
Or he had gotten beat up.
Yeah.
What deer do we have on camera? Oh, this gets to the next story. Talk about deer getting beat up. Good segue.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure. Do you think it was the same deer?
No. I think the deer we're going to talk about next, which I hope we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah, we are.
I think he was tighter than the. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
But segue into deer getting beat up. So when was this one?
Probably 2 days after.
Okay, yeah. So we go out in the morning talking about the smart clamp. We had a real tricky wind.
Yeah.
It's a spot we call the middle spot. And golly, that spot is great for a southeast wind in the morning because they're probably going to be coming from the east, working back in towards their bedding area to the west.
Yep.
And the afternoons, it's really conducive to a west-northwest wind.
Yeah.
Now, if you get a northwest wind, man, you're really giving up a lot.
Yeah.
If you get a north-northwest or a north, that's right on the cusp. You're like, okay, let's try it.
Mm-hmm.
The crummy thing is where those deer want to go in at the middle spot is just to the right/south of that stand.
Yeah.
And they're going to be directly downwind.
Yeah.
And like I say before, sometimes you hunt the deer, sometimes you hunt the wind, and sometimes you hunt the deer. And I'm like, okay, let's hunt the deer today.
Yeah.
So we went in there, and part of it is bringing the clamp mount, and I put it right on the front of the platform, and then I had a 600 above my head, plus you had a 600 off to the left of you.
Yep.
And we were trying to do video and photo of the clamp too, so it's just kind of like trying to put it all into one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, let's just make this work.
Yeah.
Sure enough, gets to be light, and it felt kind of slow, so I'm like, you know what? Try to make a little luck here. Let's just rattle. You'd had some luck not too long before that. Like, let's just rattle. So I put them together, and it wasn't. I didn't have the little rattle deal back on the hook yet.
Yeah.
Look up, and let me toot my own horn. I mean, somebody saw the deer first. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not big. I mean, I basically just saw like an ear from like 250 yards away.
Yeah, it's whatever.
I saw something brown there and then disappear and then there again.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's got to be a deer.
Yeah.
Sure enough, look at it, and it was. And then I had to like really point it out to Nick so he could find it. But whatever. But sure enough, that doe, she jumped that fence, and right behind her was a buck.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so hard that's a buck that if I'm by myself, it's not even a pick your ball off the hook type deal. But then when you're hunting with a buddy and you're filming, you're like, golly, it'd be really nice to get something on video, and you're like, so I'm kind of looking at it, I'm like, golly. And I can hear you just being like, one time, come on, one time, one time, come on.
It's just been such a tough year.
Oh,
It just
and the doe, she does like they always do. She walks and then she stops. And then you feel like she starts to walk a little bit to the left, and you're like, feel like she's going to walk out of your life. And you're like, oh, if you start to go that way there, you're going to be way over there by the time you get to us. Mm-hmm. And then she do that, and then she turned back, and then you're like, oh yeah, back in the game. And sure enough, she mingle mallied all the way to us.
Yeah.
And he was kind of bumping her.
Yeah.
As it went, not chasing, just kind of just following
Just
along.
with her, yeah.
Yep. And they came in, and of course there's a tree, which it's like hard because you can't cut every single branch.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So it's like you're trying to choose like, okay, we have a really good shooting lane here, but we're a little bit iffy over here. Well, sure enough, that's where she came.
Yeah.
And then got on the downwind side. And like I said, she didn't booger out of there. She could tell she didn't like something.
Yeah.
She kind of stepped and she kind of walked back the way she came. And literally the buck's just kind of like, okay, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And just kind of followed behind her.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just one of those situations where we didn't get busted. She didn't blow or anything, but she just could tell she didn't like it. She was standing at 20 yards. He was at 32 yards or something, just in the tree. If I would have had that tree branch cut, it would have been, if I wanted to, it would have been done.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was really, really cool to see that. I feel like that's what but that's what the crazy thing was. So we're looking at the video of that buck, and he had behind his left ear, right?
Yep.
He had a big gouge, a heck of a cut.
Yeah, he got his bell rung, I think.
Oh yeah, he got a brow tine or a G2 or something. Caught him perfect and just ripped him open.
Yeah.
He had a big old cut.
Yep.
You could see it all red.
Mm-hmm.
And and it looked pretty fresh because it didn't look like it had like a bunch of pus in it or anything. It looked like
it just happened.
Looked like it was red.
Yeah.
But I mean, when in Rome.
Yeah, exactly.
That time of year.
Yeah. And before all these hunts too, the week before we had a pretty cool hunt in the timber. Same thing, morning hunt. You rattled, and we saw a little buck on Co-op Ridge. Remember that?
No.
And
I'm totally blanking it where we're
Co-op Ridge, and then like a little bit later, I looked up to the top of the ridge that we were on.
all those does, the two does.
Well, remember that decent little buck came right in?
Totally. I need to where's the I don't know what you're talking about.
Remember
Are
that?
you talking about the morning that we... Are you talking about the morning when it was like late in the morning, we look up and there was like does came out and then I grabbed my bow and I was like, oh, here we go. And then they figure out a way to just stop in the perfect place where they can't get an arrow. And then they just gallop through the perfect place so they can't get an arrow. And then they stop right after so they can't get an arrow.
Yes, but
Golly.
yes, but
I get so frustrated with how sometimes deer just stop in the worst places. Why can't I'm holding my bow and I'm like, okay, I'm looking at it. I'm like, get ready. Here we go. She's about to get one at the 30 number. Right here to our left, got a lane. Here we go. What does she do? She stops.
Yeah.
Right before.
Yeah.
And I had already drawn. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, she's stopped. She's walking steadily. My brain's saying draw. So I draw, get everything all anchored in, feel perfect, feel good with my grip in my hand. I'm like, okay, here we go. I'm holding it. Yeah. No, she just stops. Not even looking our way, just stops like, okay, time to stop. And then when she starts again, she just goes from point A to point L.
It was like she like jumped across your lane.
Yeah, she just like galloped across it, and I didn't even think I macked at her. I was just like, okay, you're just not going to stop, and it's too late. So you can let down, and that's it.
Yeah.
Golly, if deer knew how oftentimes just that slight those little decisions make all the difference.
Yeah.
What buck?
Remember, it was that little 8-pointer that I saw up on the ridge.
Oh, yeah. Surprise. You saw it first again. Oh, yeah. That was one that was like, how did you even see it? That's where the x-ray vision came in.
He came right in.
Oh, yeah. He walked right down the hill.
Right down the hill.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was after rattling, too. And that I feel like that was the start of them. Like, okay, yeah, it seems like something's kind of going on here.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the cameras all started lighting up. Mm-hmm. Cameras started really lighting up during the day.
Yeah.
Everything started to just fire off.
Yeah.
And it definitely feels like we are at the peak of it right now. And even what we saw this weekend, to kind of really fast forward to now, hunting on Sunday, man, Sunday morning, it went from where it kind of felt like we were seeing kind of bucks just following along and bucks kind of walking down the field and kind of bumping along. Now it's full on chasing. Dogging. They are aggressively, bucks are galloping. I mean, heck, yesterday evening we saw 7 or 8 does out in the field. That little buck walked out. He looked like a bull elk. Yeah. It was like circling his harem.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Dude, it's funny because he knew right where he wanted to push him.
Yeah.
He didn't want them to walk to the east.
Yeah.
He wanted to bring them to the west.
Yeah.
He circled around and acted like he wasn't even interested. He got all the way around him.
Yeah.
And then, and the other thing he did, which is kind of funny, I was trying to explain this to Jet. We had a southwest wind. Well, where did he walk in from?
Yeah, exactly.
He got all the way around on the northeast side.
Yeah.
So he didn't have to get right up to him. He could smell him as he was walking towards him. And what did he do? He got behind those deer on their east side, and he walked back and forth on the east side of all those does before he picked one out.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he started pushing her off.
Yeah.
I mean, I was trying to explain that to Jet. I'm like, Jet, watch what he's doing here.
Yeah.
And he found the one he wanted, the one that was close or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, let's go.
Yep.
And he started kind of nudging her along. Yeah. And sure enough, I mean, we definitely saw yesterday morning, we saw chase after chase after chase.
A bunch of deer.
Just chasing. I mean, I was sitting in the cold spot, which is a spot that's really in the woods. You feel a little bit more confined in there. You can't see real far. Everything kind of happens and they're right on top of you. And sure enough, I feel like we're getting to the time of year where if you see a doe, you're going to see a buck.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's what we're getting to. We are at the peak of it right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I also feel like we're a little behind. Just like I feel like I've been saying, I feel like it feels like everything is like 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
It feels like usually you see this kind of peak lockdown in early November. It's November 18, 19. We're November in the teens.
Yeah.
I've always said that feels like November in the teens is a great time to really shoot those big slobs because they're still out there looking for the last one.
Yeah.
They're not looking for the last one yet.
No.
That feels like a little ways out yet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. 100%.
And we saw that last year when we were sitting at the middle spot. We had that buck with a doe on the ski hill. We had a buck, which was World Traveler on the river.
Year ago today.
Oh, was it a year ago today?
Year ago today.
Oh, that's so crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, that will forever haunt me. Golly. We had kinetic packs with us too that day, didn't we? I thought we did. And
yeah, we did.
Yeah.
No. Remember, I just figured this out. The 8th was when we had the kinetic packs with us. Remember, I had them switched up?
Yeah.
The 18th was when he come walking down.
Yeah. Yep.
By himself, like a zombie.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's that.
Exactly what we're talking about right now. It feels like that should have been happening. That should be happening right now like it did last year, but they're chasing hard right now.
They're chasing hard.
Yeah.
They are breeding.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law, he has to travel back and forth for work. Last week he saw, on the way to work in one day, saw 2 does breed, 2 bucks, saw 2 does breeding bucks. No. Getting a little weird.
Yeah.
No. He saw.
That's crazy, man.
Getting a little freaking nowadays. No. He saw 2 bucks breeding does separately.
Yeah.
Like, there's one. There's a buck tending a doe right there off the road.
Mm-hmm.
Drives 5 miles down the road. There's another one.
Yeah.
How many days did we go to lunch last week and we just do a little deer cruise, seeing bucks with a doe in the middle of nowhere on a field, in the middle of a bean field, just standing there. Guess what they're doing?
They were chasing a DQ.
Oh yeah, you saw. Yeah. That's another little, not a superpower of Nick. We call this a vice. Nick's got a thing for Dairy Queen chicken strips.
God, they're so good. A little honey mustard. But anyways, I went
Dairy Queen parking lot in the middle of Mason City. Busyness.
I'm sitting there, and I was just sitting there eating. I had my window rolled down, and I look out to my left, and there's a doe just standing there. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. See a doe. And then next thing you know, there's a buck chasing her. Like, literally, I'm sitting in the Dairy Queen parking lot.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, it's on.
Well, and you heard me say that last week too. I'm like, when we start to see deer running around Mason City, we know it's time.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of makes you realize how many deer are around Mason City the rest of the year that you just don't ever see.
Yeah.
But it definitely feels like it's on. And I feel like what's exciting about what's still coming up in front of us is we're looking at the 5 to 10 day forecast. We've got a bunch of cold weather coming.
Tons.
I will say I haven't not liked the not freezing out in the tree stand. That's been pretty handy.
Been comfortable, that's for sure.
This 30-degree mornings, 50-degree middle of the day hasn't been too bad.
Yeah, it's been pretty nice.
Yeah. We're running out of that, which I'm fine with, because I would love for some cold days, because that just feels like it makes everything better.
Yeah.
But we've got real rainy here today, but then we're looking at the rest of the week into the weekend. It's going to get cold.
Yeah.
Lows in the mid-20s, highs in the mid-30s.
Yep.
There's a lot of high pressure coming. I think actually, if I could really check really quick, I think we're almost on. If we're not on it right now, I think there's a red moon. Let me tell you, just one sec. Yes, sirree, Bobby. 17th through the 21st, red moon. We're right in the middle of red moon right now.
Heck yeah.
Which would make sense to what we were seeing on Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah, this is kind of the last red moon of the bow season. So that's looking good. High pressure, pressure's high. It's looking really good.
Yeah.
It's interesting because it feels like it's a week or two behind. I feel like between now and Thanksgiving, this weekend, next weekend, could get good.
Yeah.
It really could get good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, sometimes I feel like deer hunting is the 2 Fs. It's really fun. It's really frustrating.
Yes.
We've been experiencing some frustrating parts.
Yeah.
But it's still super fun to be out there.
Yesterday was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Just
how many deer do you think you saw between the morning and afternoon?
I added it up last night, and I think it was like 28.
There you go.
And like I told you too, I said I think some of these are getting to be duplicates.
Yep.
But still, though, I mean.
Well, and I can't believe we didn't even mention this. We got in the stand yesterday afternoon. I was really wanting to get Jet out there. We were looking ahead at the weather, and I'm like, okay, it's going to get real crummy weather or colder where I can't get him out there and have him. I mean, I still probably will try. Yeah. And we'll just I'll bundle him up more. But with a southwest wind like we had yesterday afternoon, I'm like, I can't hunt the co-op like I can right now. I don't feel real good to try to do that right now. And give up a lot of it. So I'm like, you were hunting the river. I was like, well, I'll go to what we call the mint spot. That's perfect for a southwest. They come from the west, and they really come out right to the south of you. Should be good.
And it's a double, so you can get Jet in there.
And that was the big thing, is I thought, where could I bring Jet out to? Because it's fun to kind of bring Jet out in the peak of the rut when he can really see stuff. Mm-hmm. And he gets that. He talks about bucks and does and big bucks all the time. It's really neat for him to get to see them. Mm-hmm. Well, sure enough, it couldn't have worked out any better. We get to the mint spot, get everything all of our jargon on, get all ready to go, get his harness on. We climb up the ladder. He gets up in the ladder. He sits down in the chair. He turns and looks. He's like, Dad, there's a deer. And at first I'm like, oh, okay. And I climb up there, and sure enough, it was a deer, and it was a buck. Yeah. Fairly certain it was gas. Yeah. Which is a nice, mature, wide 10-pointer
Yeah.
that we have on camera.
Yeah, big tall brows.
Yep, big tall brows, big old schnoggin, big body.
Yeah.
And right when I saw him, I didn't have my binos. They were in the bottom of my pack, but he was 150 yards away, roughly in the same spot where we saw World Traveler right there.
Yeah.
And he acted like he was going to walk towards the edge.
Yeah.
And he stood there. You could see him real good. He turned his head, and you saw him too in your binos, and you saw him walk back up towards Turkey Ridge.
Yeah, because in the morning, I saw a really nice buck bumming through that same area. And so I was like, okay, first thing I'm going to do when I get up is get back in the stand, is just make sure I glass over all that. And sure enough, there he was again.
Yep.
And I just saw him walking away from me.
Yeah.
And it's just, all I really made from it was it's a really big buck with a very white rack. That's all I could see.
Yep. And that's gas.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so we watched him. He never came back out, but towards dark, there's a gap in the field that I can see to the west into this next field. And pretty sure I saw World Traveler.
Yeah.
Big 2s, big 3s, not super wide, but nice and tall.
Yeah.
And he was just kind of following dog in a doe.
Yeah.
And so there's the big bucks are around.
Yeah, they definitely
And it's just trying to put in the time and hopefully get lucky.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then, so like we said right at the beginning, Saturday we didn't hunt. I went and did a bunch of camera work at a couple different public spots and stuff like that. But then I just took the last hour of the night just to drive around. I had the camera with me. I thought it'd be cool to get some footage of some deer out. I figured there would be. And sure enough, it was just a crazy 15 minutes. There was a doe out in the middle of this huge cornfield. I'm like, where in the heck did these deer come from? They're just standing out in the middle. I throw the binos up. It was a beautiful buck, really nice
and
buck.
they were in the middle of nowhere.
Of nowhere.
No rhyme or reason to where they were.
Nothing at all. And I'm like,
if you looked at an aerial photo, you'd be like, it's a cornfield and a fence line.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they just stood out there, and it was super far away. And I didn't have the big lens with, which I wish I would have, because I probably would have been able to see him better. But so I just had the 7200 and snapped some pics of him. And then when I realized it was too far away, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to watch him in the binos after I got some stuff of him, just because it was honestly pointless. It was just, he looked so small in there. So I was just watching. I'm like, man, that's a huge buck. That's awesome, whatever. So I sat there for a little bit, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to go now. And I drove down the road probably half a mile. I look over, nice buck, just absolutely dogging this doe hard, really hard. So then I filmed him, took some pics of him, got him filmed. I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. Whatever. I mean, he wasn't near as big as the other one, but it was a really nice buck. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to keep driving. So I keep driving. Then I get to another spot. There's another nice buck just standing in the ditch, just standing there. And you could tell that he had been running all day. He looked just tired as could be. And he was just standing there. I pulled up right next to him. And finally he walked away. So I got out of the truck and got some footage of him there. But it was just like an unbelievable last 45 minutes of daylight.
I can't believe I completely forgot about the one I saw on the side of the road.
Oh, yeah.
What was that? That was Thursday.
Yeah.
Jeez. Driving down Highway 18. I'll even say where I was.
Yeah.
Highway 18, west of Clear Lake. I'm driving down the road, and it's dark.
Yeah.
It is dark.
Yeah.
Driving down the road, and there was a buck, and I was the only car. There wasn't a car in front of me. I was the car, kind of leading the way. I could see nobody really in front of me. And I come up, and there was a buck standing on the side of the road, and it was a big, big deer.
Yeah.
I saw the side profile, his 2s, his 3s, and his 4s. It looked like a fence.
Yeah.
And he was standing on the side of the road. I mean, I could have gone, boom, and hit him. I mean, he was standing there like he didn't give a diddly.
Yeah.
And I mean, I called you right after. I said, dude, you're not going to believe what I just saw.
Yeah.
I saw a crank.
Yeah.
And that's what it is right now. Mm-hmm. It's just, even like when I talked to my father-in-law, I was like, yeah, man, there's a lot of deer around.
Yeah.
Holy cow, I'm seeing a lot of deer. And that's what it is.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of deer on their feet. It's the peak of breeding. It's the peak of the rut. It is on.
Yep.
And we're hoping that over the next 2 weeks, two and a half weeks, that we still have a lot of good opportunity in front of us, you know? And I feel like that's the thing that I think that I've been saying to you a lot is, man, I just try to have a lot of fun doing it. and trying to be optimistic
Yeah.
about what's coming up. Cause it can get to where this time of year, you're like, you kind of start the countdown.
Yeah.
Man, I only have this many weekends left. I only have this many days left. You do see everybody on social media with the bucks that they've killed and things like that and deer that are falling down. And that's awesome. More power to them, you know? I don't know. I just try to keep the glass half full.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good opportunity left in front of us.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, we've got
definitely
cold
is.
weather. We've got after the peak of the rut when those big bucks start cruising. And when they start, I'm excited for that day when we go out and there's one buck with a big one connected to her with 5 or 6 other bucks that are just following along.
Yeah.
When you know you're getting to be one of the last ones. And that's still in front of us.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, when all of a sudden you rattle or you grunt or you doe bleat and they just start coming because they're out there looking.
Yeah.
Because they can't find a girl to dance with.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what we're hoping for.
Yep.
You know, and you just, like I say all the time, you never know what you're gonna see when you're out there.
Yeah, I mean it's November in Iowa.
Yeah, you're driving down the most random gravel road, and you're seeing good buck, and then another good buck, and a buck standing in the ditch, and you're driving along the highway, and you're seeing a buck literally standing on the side of the road.
Yeah.
It's just that time of year.
Yeah.
I wish sometimes they were as dumb as they look when they're standing there.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
It's unbelievable how witty they are the rest of the time. But no, it's pretty awesome. And we've got cameras out, we've got stands out. We're in a good position.
Yeah.
We've actually got some good winds. You know, Sunday, southeast wind.
Yeah, kind of tough.
Ugh. Southeast wind, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, that's like the worst.
This next
wind
Sunday is a
possible.
southeast wind. And it's going to be windy Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But then we're talking north winds on Friday, northwest on Saturday, then southeast on Sunday. Ugh.
Yeah, which that's kind of a bummer. But
Yeah, southeast winds are tricky.
Yeah, they're
tricky
really
for us.
yeah, exactly. For what
tricky
we
for
have.
us. Yeah, tricky for us. But yeah, man, it's gonna be really exciting. And like I said, congratulations to all those guys out there. We should do a real shout out to Jason Mears. Talk about the guy that's had a great year. He actually just emailed me today just before we started about. He said I don't think which I'm like, yeah, dude, I totally saw. But he's like, man, I've had a good year. And he goes, I finally tracked down that buck that I've been talking about for all these years. He had been talking about that buck for the longest time. Tracked a really good deer down in Pennsylvania that he had a bunch of history with. And then shot a great one in Ohio.
Yeah.
Great one in Ohio.
Yeah.
Cranker of one in
Yeah,
Ohio.
he's having a good year.
Yeah. And like you said, there's a bunch of guys that are out there pounding them right now.
Yeah.
It's weird though too, and I think you've read this and follow more along with this than I do, but it seems like there's some guys that are having great years and then there's other guys that are having tough years. Struggling like what I kind of feel like we are.
Yeah.
Kind of feels like some days we get back to the truck and it's like, man, if we didn't have bad luck, we wouldn't have any luck at all.
Yeah.
You know, it's still awesome to be out there.
Yeah.
But it's almost like, you know, you're playing around a golf and you sometimes if you ever watch golf and you watch after the round gets over, they interview the players and the guy goes, you know, I felt like I didn't play that bad.
Yeah.
I played pretty good, but I just had a couple things that didn't go my way and I shot 6 over, you know?
Right.
And that's what I feel like. I feel like we're making the right decisions and we're doing the right things. It just feels like it's just not all coming together.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You know, I talked to a buddy of mine that guides in Montana. They're doing a lot of whitetail hunting right now, right? They elk hunt all fall and then they do some whitetails. They've got like river bottom, but they hunt on that stuff. And he talked a lot about how, and I believe this too, like sometimes it feels like whitetail hunting is a bit of luck.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what are the chances? Like sometimes you just decide to go to that spot and then he walks by that day. It feels like there is a bit of luck.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he talked about, it's like if you put 10 guys out in stands, probably 7 out of 10 of the guys are going to see bucks that they probably shoot.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
But of those 10 and the 7 guys that see deer that they want to shoot, they're probably only going to be like 2 or 3 of the guys that are really going to actually shoot respectable deer. And maybe 1 or 2 of the 10, maybe just 1 is going to shoot like a real crank.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you follow me?
Yeah.
It's just like the pyramid.
Yeah.
The higher you go up the pyramid, the less mature deer and bigger deer there are.
Right.
And it's just trying to, you know, get to the top of the pyramid.
Yeah.
It's commendable for the guys that do it every year.
Yeah, no
I mean, that's
kidding.
really something.
Oh, yeah.
Because it feels like it's a combination of skill, feels like it's a combination of luck.
Yeah.
It feels like it's a combination of weather and I don't know what else, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Habitat and cover and feed and water and skill and luck and
Yeah.
all these things that just come together for when you harvest a good whitetail.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is what makes it really fun.
Yeah.
But We just need a little bit more luck.
Yeah, that's all we need.
But I will say the other thing that I live and die by with lots of hunting, pretty much anything, any type of hunting, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I would say too for the guy that's listening that hasn't killed his buck yet. Keep hunting hard. Hunt as hard on the last day as you did the first day.
Yeah.
And I say that to myself too. I'm going to keep trying to hunt as hard as I can.
Yeah.
When I can go, I'm going to hunt hard because the tendency is to let up. The tendency is to get frustrated. The tendency is to be like, well, it's just not going to happen for me. And there's just, the rut isn't happening here, whatever. And then all of a sudden you look up and there he is.
Yeah, exactly.
So don't let your guard down.
Yeah.
Keep hunting hard.
Yep.
And I think that's what we're going to try to do. And then you leave it all on the field. And if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, still, man, you still got to whitetail hunt in Iowa in November and bow hunt the rut. And that's really fun.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's wrap this thing up. Let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it. Let's wrap it.
Yep.
That wasn't even an effect. I just did that.
Yeah.
Wrap it. Hey, thanks for watching Ozonics Killerwinds Podcast. Rut Report in the books. Next Rut Report, hopefully we have
Good news.
an exciting story to tell.
Yeah.
And if we don't, we'll be talking about the rest of the rut and how it played out.
Yeah.
All right, stay classy.
See you next week.
Stay classy. Watch out, there's a mic there.